and welcome back to another video. Today we have a little haul from my recent Barcelona trip. If you haven't seen that video and you are unaware that I went to Barcelona, and how could you not be, I've mentioned it a billion times recently in my recent videos, but I went to Barcelona with my girlfriend for my 30th birthday and I arrived back home as a fiance, which was very exciting. But during that trip we visited 3 art shops and then one shop that was dedicated to one brand only. So I'll insert a couple of clips here whilst I'm talking, but basically we found these 3 lovely little art shops, and art shops in Barcelona were absolutely incredible. They had an array of things, they had so much stuff on display, a huge amount of just like one item. We found an art shop that was about 5 floors high and each floor had something different. One was just dedicated to different papers and stuff, and you could select them on a swatch and they'd cut it to size for you. It was just immense. It was just so much better than anything we have here in England, and I was very jealous of it all and very tempted to buy a hell of a lot of things, but we only had hand luggage, so I couldn't go crazy with paints and things. So I really had to reel it in and really had to just be very mindful of what I was buying. So the one thing that I want to show the most of was Molotow. So this is a brand. Now, we went into this shop and it was the Molotow Barcelona shop, and there was just a wall of all of their different products there, and then there was a barrier that you had to stand behind, and then someone from the Molotow shop went and chose the colours or chose the things you wanted to buy, which, let's face it, is such a great idea. When you go into art shops, especially here in the UK, or shops that sell art supplies like the Range or things like that, the choice is extensive, but when you actually go into buying them, half of them have been tested on things or mashed up, or kids have bashed them into things, and they're just not the best condition, and it's just a sad thing. So the Molotow store clearly had thought of that and restricted you, which was great. I went up and I explained kind of like, I'm just having a look, blah blah blah. And then they said, is there anything you're in particular looking for? And I was kind of drawn to the acrylic markers because everything else was very graffiti orientated, which is what Molotow specialise in. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted, but I knew I wanted some sort of souvenir for going in there. It's quite a special place. And he said that there was this new product they've come out with, which is a bit of a hybrid between an acrylic marker and an alcohol marker, but it's a water-based marker, which is incredible. Now, they had the full-size markers and they also had different nibs to choose from. And then he also showed me this new thing they've come up with, which are these kind of like tester markers. So they're this small, they're very, very small, but mighty in stature. And they came in chisel nib, bullet nib and brush nib. And of course, my popular choice would be the brush nib, so that's what I chose. He then whipped out a ton of swatches. I'll insert a photo here of me having a look at them, and he said, which one would you like? So I went along and I chose more natural looking things because I wanted to use them whilst I was out there, but I also, that's just the type of artwork that we kind of do here, so that's kind of what I was looking at with in terms of colour. He then said, he gave me an ultimatum of a deal, and that if I buy 6 of these taster barrels to test out the colours, you got this special barrel included. Now, what's special about this is that you can then use this barrel to dual wield colours. So you twist these colours in here, and then you have these 2 colours perfect for just going about. If you want to do just 2 colours out and about, or you want to wield 2 colours at one time, it's just perfect. So you got this barrel free when you purchase just 6 of these. And obviously, these not being the full-size pen, they've not got tons of ink in them. They'll probably just be good for a couple of artworks, but good to test them out, whether I like them or not. And it's just a brilliant little selection. I really liked it, and it only cost me €11 for this, which I think is a real good bargain, and I'm excited to try them out. So that was the first thing we bought whilst we were out there, and I was excited about this, and I had a great time in that store. Then, like I said, we went into a couple of other shops as well, and I refrained from buying anything, and then I found this big one, and they had like a bit of well, not a bit of they had a big sale on from 25 to 75% off, and I spotted a few things in there, like I say, a few paints and things, and I just knew I I was risking potentially getting them confiscated at security through the airport, so I didn't want to risk it because they were quite expensive. So I reined it in and we went for two very simple items. First of which was this sketchbook. It is a Royal Talons sketchbook, and of course it's in my colour, my branding colour, so I thought I've got to get it. And I didn't really mind what the paper was, but I think it is... So it's a bit of a mixed media sketchbook, which is exciting. I can try certain things in there. And of course, I actually opened one of my Etcher sketchbooks of the same size for this trip. So I was quite pleased to have like a renew of a sketchbook that I can add to the shelf for my next trip when I've potentially finished that other sketchbook. So I was excited about that. Then my justification for this is they had a wall of these Finetec Premium pearlescent paints. Everything I've bought is German. Anyway, besides the point, they had a wall of these Finetec paints, and I am like a magpie. I am drawn to these beautiful shimmery things, and annoyingly, I just never use them. They're not something I use in my artwork. Maybe I should start trying to figure out ways to incorporate them. But obviously, whilst we've been out in Barcelona, we've seen a lot of beautiful architecture. Obviously, whenever you go travelling and you're looking at architecture and things, there's always gold sculptures, gold statues. And I thought, and this is my kind of justification, is that I buy this very small Finetec Premium gold paint. This is called Pharaoh's Gold F722C, because actually the size of this little palette is about this big, and it's something that I can add to my Etcher mini palette. I can take it away with me, and whenever I'm doing some paintings of some sculptures or some studies of architecture that have some gold on there, I can just use this very small little palette, and it's perfect for travelling around. So that was my justification for that. I really wanted some of the other colours, but we went for this one in particular. So that's it for art supplies. Like I said, I really pared it back. You are surprised, I am aware. Then I wanted to pick up a couple of souvenirs. So the first one was from the Sagrada Familia, and they had this lovely ink sketch postcard. And I really thought it'd be perfect to add into my sketchbook and do my own colourful version next to it, and just a really nice momentum to have from there. And I thought it was really, really beautiful. I thought it was really stunning. So that was my first thing that I got there. Then on one of our days we went to Montjuic and everything was shut, so we ended up sitting in front of the big museum art gallery there and listening to some buskers and some music. It was really beautiful. Like I say, if you've not seen that video, it's a really informative, very whistle-stop tour around Barcelona, so if you're thinking of going, highly recommend looking at that. You'll see some of the beautiful things you can see. But we sat on these steps, listened to these buskers, and there was an artist there. This older gentleman was sat there doing beautiful, expressive, colourful, quick sketches of things, and we had a look at his work. None of it was priced, so I was a bit anxious, but we have a bit of a gallery wall at the top of our stairs with artwork from all of our travels. So whenever we visit somewhere, if we see some artwork we really like, we tend to buy it. We've got things from Edinburgh, Amsterdam, all sorts of places. I can't remember off the top of my head now. And we always like to bring a piece of artwork back from that gallery wall. So I really wanted some of his artwork. He's probably the only artist we saw whilst we were out there, which is a shame. But like I say, I was a bit anxious because he didn't have any prices on them. So I asked about one piece, which is this one here. How beautiful is that? It's so expressive. Just some simple watercolour washes with colours, and then a really nice quick wash of an ink. Beautiful. But we were looking at this one and another one, and we were kind of trying to decide. I then asked him how much the price was once we'd settled on this one, and he said €15, and I was shocked. I was like, this is worth so much more than €15. It really is. But so I said to Natalie, I was like, let's give him 20, an extra 5 at least to pay for this. So I handed over the 20, and he goes, oh no, here's another piece, and handed us the second one that we were toying with. Now, they are very similar, but it'll be really nice. We can have one at the top of the stairs, and then I'm thinking of having one in my studio somewhere. But how beautiful is that? And we ended up getting it for even cheaper. I was trying to give him money, and he ended up giving us 2. So, very generous man, and he was honestly lovely to chat to, and his artwork was stunning. And I really love the authenticity of this. We've got a bit of his thumbprint there with some paint. Beautiful, beautiful pieces of artwork, very inspiring. I may attempt to do my own version of this, but with a different bit of scenery. Very, very stunning. I was very pleased with that. So that is the haul from Barcelona. Very small, very short and sweet. But whilst I was out there, I did do a little bit of sketching. Not as much as I would have liked because, well, one, the first 2 days were quite dreary with a lot of rain, so we couldn't really sit outside and sketch. And two, I was just enjoying the sights, and when we stopped down and sat down for a drink or some food, my feet were killing me. I was tired. We were on the go constantly, and kind of sitting down to sketch was the last thing I kind of wanted to do. But we did a little bit. Even Natalie did a little bit. She actually whipped out one of my other sketchbooks whilst we were there and did a little sketch of her own, which I thought was fantastic. It was of the Arc de Triomphe that was there. Very, very beautiful little sketch that Natalie did there. So I was quite pleased to have one of hers in my sketchbook as well. But this was a new sketchbook I opened. It's an Etcher cold press watercolour sketchbook, and then this is my version of the Arc de Triomphe, and I was quite pleased with it. I think the sketch is very nice. It's very quick, very expressive, but I'd like to add a bit of colour to that, so that's what we're going to do in this video as well. I then did a sketch of the Cascada waterfall in one of the parks, which was really lovely, and I'd like to add to this and finish sketching it, and again add a little colour if I can. I think there'll be simple washes because I'm not there in the moment kind of adding that colour, but I'd like to do that. I then did a couple of studies of the Gaudi area in Park Güell, and this was when, just before I got proposed to actually, so this holds a very special place in my heart, this sketch, but again I'd like to add a little bit of colour to those if possible. And then finally, this is what I painted whilst we were listening to the buskers at Montjuic. So I've already added a bit of colour to that one. I think that one's finished. It's just a sketch with a little background wash on there. But I think the goal for this is to kind of add a little bit more colour to these, finish them off, and then do a little bit more artwork from the trip using some of these supplies so that I can test them out and see how they are. So I'm excited about that. Let's get to doing that. I'm going to add a little bit of scrapbooking in there as well. I have a lot of receipts and things that I want to kind of cut off this top bit here that tells me that's where we sat whilst we were sketching this, and I'll probably glue it in next to it. Just a few little bits like that. I like to do that from my travels, but let's get cracking. We're going to do a bit of swatching, we're going to finish those artworks, and then we're going to do a few more artworks from the trip as well. So I hope you're going to stay tuned and enjoy a little bit of this, and I will put some lovely music on over the artwork too. So I'm not going to do much more. There's definitely some more artwork I'd like to do for this trip, but I feel like I've tested the supplies I've shown and I've kind of brought up to scratch the sketches that I did whilst I was away. So let's do a little bit quick tour of it. So first is the Arc de Triomphe. You saw I did the sketch for this, and I simply used my Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolours to do some washes. I then used this Derwent line maker, which I'm swiftly finding very nice to use, and it is also waterproof, so I could do the line work and then add some additional darker washes over the top to push the darks dark and keep the lights nice and light. So that was really nice. I really enjoy doing this. I think it's quite nice, and I also feel like I've developed a style. I always struggled with doing plein air sketching, plein air painting, and I struggled to do buildings as well, but I feel like doing this exercise on this video has helped me develop my style and how I want to do plein air / building paintings when I do my travels from now on, which is really, really cool. I'm really excited about that. So the next on the list is this. Now, this is the Cascada Monumental at the Parc de la Ciutadella. I think that's how you say it. And again, I had a bigger sketch, so if you saw my flip through at the start, I had this sketch here of one of the monuments and kind of like the sweeping round with another one of those here. And I liked the sketch, but I didn't really know how to colour it. I didn't really know how to show off the best. And obviously the main part of the Cascada is actually this monument in the middle here where all the water would start running from. So I wanted to showcase that. So I rubbed out half of my initial sketch. I wanted to obviously remain some of it that I had done whilst I was out there, and this is what we had. I I started doing the actual monument here. I did the washes again with my Cotman watercolours, and then I used the liner again over the top. And this is where I added the gold paint. So as you can see there's just these really lovely little pops of gold paint to signify the gold statues on top of here. And I just think it looks really, really nice. I'm really pleased with that. And again, this is kind of similar to the Arc de Triomphe, the same style that I used there. So I definitely think this is a style that I'm going to take forward from now on when I do plein air sketching. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I didn't actually touch this. So this is from Park Güell. I was going to paint it, but I really love my sketch and I was really scared about ruining it. So I'm just going to leave the sketch for now. I may add a little section just in between here of a close-up of the mosaics because I feel like they need highlighting and add a pop of colour to this page. But for the most part, I just left this one empty. Then again, this one I already finished whilst I was out in Barcelona, and it was just the pencil sketch of this statue and her behind, literally, and then a little wash of blue behind it. And then the final piece of artwork is an homage to the Sagrada Familia. This is obviously the postcard that I showed, and I've pasted that in. Then I wanted to do my own artwork, and originally I was going to mimic this artwork but add colour to it. But the Sagrada Familia is just like sandstone coloured. It's not really anything spectacular from afar like that in terms of colour. So I wanted to do some close-ups. So I had some really nice close-up shots of these lovely stone carved statues on the outside. And then I thought I would showcase the actual stained glass window and actually use my Molotow pens that I showed at the start as well. And I thought this was the perfect place to use them. Two of the colours, this dark grey and this more olivey green colour, were just too different to how I wanted to show the colours. So I used predominantly the yellow, the sap leaf green, this tealy colour and the sky blue on this, and they were really lovely to use. They're kind of just like a water-based felt marker, but juicier, more pigmented, and they don't leave too many streaks. They're very, very nice to use. This barrel was very nice to use, especially when I was using yellows, and then I wanted to lighten this green even further with the yellow. It was nice to keep interchanging. But if you're using tons of colours, I think actually just using them as their little barrels like this is perfectly fine. And you actually have a nice amount of control on those. And obviously the felt brush nib was perfect for getting like finer details, which was very nice for doing the stained glass windows, which was perfect. And then I added a wash of colour around the stained glass window and some yellow onto the statue to show that it's reflecting onto those. But I think it's a really perfect little homage to the Sagrada Familia, and I'm very, very pleased with that. So that's all the supplies, that's all the artwork. I'm very, very pleased, I'm very excited, and I'm just pleased to have some lovely memories down on paper with my own artwork. I did mention I was going to put receipts and tickets and things in there, but it just didn't work. I did put in a ticket here, but it was just too contrasty to my artwork, and so I've left them off for now. I'm pleased with just having the names of the places that I visited and then the artwork itself to represent where they were. So very excited. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this. I hope you've enjoyed coming along this journey with me and seeing these little supplies that I didn't have before and I was testing out. It was very fun to use, and I hope you have enjoyed. So I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.